Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley. This is another historic church in Nottinghamshire. This is the church of St Mary the Virgin and All Saints. Seems like redundant, but there we are. Willoughby-on-the-Wolds. The Wolds are this particular area of rolling hills. And there's been a church here since Norman times. The oldest parts of the present building are probably 13th century. The early part of the 13th century, the south aisle is built, and later on the north aisle. There's a good gap between the two. So the chancel then has been completely rebuilt basically in the 19th century. The old one has fallen into disrepair. The church is, so it's named Willoughby-on-the-Wolds. And it's a church that is most noted for its memorials to the Willoughby family that are found in their chantry chapel, which is to the north, in fact, of the north aisle. This is an area, as I've said in a previous video, that is well known for its alabaster quarries and alabaster carving. And the result is that many of the churches have impressive alabaster memorials. And we'll see when we go into the Willoughby Chapel. So let's have a look around this interesting and quite striking in many ways building. As usual, then we start at the west end. The church has had its pews removed. The old box pews were taken out in the Victorian era, and they were never replaced. You've just got these chairs, and that's all. Now, originally in the 13th, 14th centuries, you wouldn't have had pews. 14th century, bring in benches, and it kind of goes from there. The church was somewhat neglected, apparently, in the past, and certainly by the Victorian era, the chancel was, shall we say, not what they were terribly interested in. So the whole thing has been largely renewed. Unfortunately, the walls have mostly been scraped. There's still a nice 15th century ceiling, 15th century roof, which is a good idea. And you can see these, you can see here, this is an older style than this. There's a good chunk of history between the two arcades. And then we come through into the north aisle. Here we have, this is a picture of the outside before restoration. And then we have here, the interior before restoration. So you can see here just the box pews, and there you've got the high pulpit and box pews. And here we have the war memorials. So you've got the First World War and the Second World War. Because the Second World War just got these two names, and 8 in the First World War. It's about normal. And this is the Willoughby Chapel. This is the chantry. You can see in the middle we have this incredibly impressive memorial. Originally it would have been painted because medieval people did that. I've said that in previous videos. And this is Hugh de Willoughby and his second wife Margaret, and he died in 1448 and she in 1493. We have here Sir Richard de Willoughby, and he is unusual. You'll notice he's not in armour. He was a judge, you see, and so he is wearing the outfit of a gentleman. And this sort of thing is very useful. You can see he's got a skull cap on because he's a lawyer. And these things are very useful because they give us some idea of what men wore when they weren't in armour. We've got this nice, because originally it would have been a chantry, there would have been a priest who served it. Here we have the memorial to Sir Richard de Willoughby, who died in 1369, and he was the son of Sir Richard the Judge. And then we have here the earlier memorials. You've got, this is Sir Richard de Willoughby and his wife, and date from about 1325. We do not know who these two ladies were. They're undoubtedly members of the Willoughby family, and they date from around 1300, but we have no idea what their names were. just that they, and you see these are sandstone, whereas the later ones are alabaster. And just in here, you can see you've got your piscina, because your priest, your chantry priest, would be massing on a regular basis. And you can see the development of armour and also the development of the style here. This is quite a simple memorial, even allowing for everything being patched. And here is much more complicated, but also the armour is much showier. Now here, we'll just back up a bit. You've got, this is very normal. The ladies will generally have a dog or two at their feet. And here we have the judge. You can see he's got his underrobe as quite close fitting, and then he's got his more loosely fitting robe, and he's wearing a sword because he is a gentleman. So that is the Willoughby Chapel. That's the main attraction here, if you will, and even if you won't, it's still the main attraction here. The chancel and the screen and the pulpit, of course, are all Victorian. We have an organ there, and the chancel is quite ordinary, shall we say. It is mostly a Victorian rebuild. It's not the least exciting I've seen, but not the most exciting either. And we have there the East End and the Ascension as the main section, the centre 3 panels, and they've got Mark and Luke either side. So that, I would say, is the inside here at Willoughby-on-the-Wolds. It's a nice, quite big, open building, and most noted, I say, for those memorials. And then we come back, and you can see we have the font, nice little font actually, there in the south aisle here, which is unusual for fonts, but it's been moved around a lot because fonts tend to be. And we have here, this certainly is Kemp-ish, even if not Kemp. So, Mother's Union banner. So, and Piscina, which shows where the side chapel was. So that's the inside here at Willoughby-on-the-Wolds. And so here we are outside at Willoughby. You can see here this nice brooch spire here, springing off the tower, and it's the earlier type of spire, although of course it has been renewed by the Victorians. One of the notable things here, in the porch you can find a memorial to a Reverend Mr. Killick of the neighbouring parish, who was given his name and perhaps some of his background to a certain preserved Killick noted in Patrick O'Brien's novels, and of course the film based on them, Master and Commander of the Far Side of the World. Certainly Willoughby gets a mention in the novels. I forget whether preserved Killick is supposed to be from this area, but certainly one of the characters is. So that's a little literary reference here. So let's have a look around the outside, shall we? The porch, of course, is Victorian. It replaces a much simpler porch that can be seen in some old photographs inside the church. The chancel has largely been rebuilt by the Victorians. It does have some medieval fabric, but it's primarily a Victorian rebuild. And as we go around, we will see there a nice view down the side here. And as I say, the south aisle seems to be the oldest of the two. There's a good number of these nice slate gravestones. Many of them have rustic epitaphs upon them for that reason. For that reason, they're very interesting, rather. And make sure I read the whole script. And this is the chapel. You see the chantry here, and you can see how much is built on the outside of the aisle. Willoughby is in the middle of nowhere. It's on the border between Nottinghamshire and Leicestershire, and very rustic, very attractive, very nice location if you can get here. The church is normally locked, but there is a key holder who will let you in if you call them and ask, which is second best to the building always being open, is having a proper key holder. And ultimately whether the building's open or not is up to the church warden and the congregation. It's not up to church crawlers like myself and probably yourself as well, however much we may have our own opinions on the matter. You can see there, that's lean-to, that's the modern toilet block, which is very good. It's not nicely the same material as the old, it'll weather to look pretty much the same. That's what you want, really. This is not very far from Widmerpool and is readily combined in a visit with the two. There we are, around again to the south side with the porch, and that's that. And so there we have it, Willoughby-on-the-Wolds. So thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.